Hello everyone and welcome to this new long tutorial. Today we have the big Boerogg frost giant. As I didn't have something to assemble, I began to remove the mold lines. The base was at least horrible, so I removed it. I drilled holes in the mini and I pinned them with a metal wire. To the parts that I couldn't pin them, I used glue tacked in a stick. I used Vallejo grey primer to prime the miniature. With light sea blue I base coated the muscles. I chose blue because I thought a frosty giant must be blue. Now, with light sea blue and angel's blue, I began to create the first shadows. This model is bigger than the models I usually paint. This has one advantage and one disadvantage. The advantage is that you have bigger details to paint, but the disadvantage is that you have to paint it for many hours. Then with insignia blue I made the deepest shadows. Next come the highlights. I began by using sky blue. Many of you are asking me what the PSI I use in the airbrush. Well, when I'm priming or I use varnish, I use about 25 to 30 PSI. But when I'm painting, I usually use about 15 to 20 PSI. Especially if I'm painting very small details, I drop the PSI about 5 to 10. But keep in mind, small PSIs need very well diluted paint, even if the paint is already diluted or ready-made like the Vallejo Air range. The final highlights were made with sky blue and white. A quick gloss varnish to prepare the mini for the washes. With mineral spirit I diluted very well the oil paint. This will give us a perfect blue wash. try to stay focused on the recesses and not really wash the mini. And don't forget, to seal the oil paints, use varnish. And now again the eyes. I don't understand why we don't use decals for the eyes. So this time I used another technique. I painted white the eyeball and then I dipped a paper clip in black paint. And I have to say that the result was pretty nice. After masking very well the muscles with blue tack and blue tape, I base coated the fur and almost all the leather parts with medium camel brown. I didn't fully cover the fur because I wanted to create the effect like patches. Next I used US flat brown here and there. With burnt umber I created some patches again and this time some shadows. Next comes leather brown and finally comes green brown. I carefully removed the blue tack and I applied gloss varnish to prepare the mini for the oil washes. Now, two things about the model. This mini is again from Reaper Bone series and I have to say it's very well sculpted. Of course, it's not as good as the resin one, but here is the difference. At the official site of Reaper Miniatures, it says that the resin one costs $26, but the Bone series costs $10. That's more than half the cost for a very decent model. But in my opinion, if you have the money, take the resin. I paint Bone series because this is more affordable for the painters. Back to the mini. With a makeup sponge, I removed all the extra oil wash. Don't forget to seal your paint job after oil washes. Very important if you don't want to mess it up. With menthol white base, I dry brushed only the brightest spots on the fur. With the US flat brown, I painted the leather parts on the knees. I began to paint some leather stripes with khaki brown and some with green brown. Then I highlighted them with light brown. Because the highlights was very sharp, I used acrylic wash to cool them down. I base coated the belt and the leather parts on the hand with Russian green. With khaki brown, I base coated the leather stripe that holds the teeth on the hand. With wolf grey, I base coated all the bone parts. Wolf grey is a very nice color to base coat bones. With Warlord Purple, I paint the inner parts of the mouth and the details around the teeth. Then with Pale Flesh, I painted the tongue. With Bone White, I painted all the bone parts. With the same color I painted the skulls, trying leaving a small line at the middle. I highlighted all the skulls with elfic flesh. The final highlight was made with ivory. With a Russian green and light brown mix, I painted his wooden crown. Despite of the most painters thought, I wanted the sword to be made from stone and not from ice, so I base coated it with German grey. I dry brushed the sword, first with dark sea grey and then with wolf grey. I also dry brushed the crown with brown sand. With wolf grey I painted all the finest details. This is very important if you want to pop up the mini. I colored the chips with blue, tan and purple paint. strong acrylic wash to cool them down, and that's almost it. We could stop the paint job here, but the details make the difference. So I changed the colors between blue, purple and tan to make some line and circles on the bones. I didn't follow some exact pattern, it was all random. Now to the easy part, I assembled the miniature. For the base I used some wooden bark I found on the park. To create the rocky effect, I base coated with black primer, then I dry brushed with German grey, cold grey and finally with wolf grey. I applied some iron oxide diluted with water. To create the snow effect, I used baking soda, PVA glue and some white paint. I can say it creates a very nice effect, but careful that it dries after at least 24 hours. Attach the model to the base and that's it, the model is ready. I hope you are still here. Thank you for watching. You can always comment, like and subscribe to my channel. And I hope to see you again in a smallest tutorial video next time. Thank you.